Hello, this is a very brief public service announcement to say that I make a statement in this podcast about something that a game designer said on the internet, and not only did I get that wrong, I got it 180% wrong. So I made him sound like a slightly belligerent person when in fact he's the complete opposite. The public service announcement, you know?
Welcome to episode 104 of Chet and John's reassuringly finite gaming playlist. My name's John Denton. With me, as always, Chet Roivas.
Hello.
You know the deal. You really do know the deal. I don't even know why I need to say it. 2 top 10 lists. 10 being the game we played the least this week, 1 being the game we played the most. Cheers, Chet 10.
Okay, right, my number 10 is DMC Devil May Cry on the PlayStation 3. This is one hell of a lame entry, but I said last week that I still had to finish it. So I jumped back in and, and I instantly realised that I had finished it. And I'd started again on a harder difficulty. I mean, that's a testament both to my absolutely diabolical memory and the fact that DMC probably doesn't have the greatest ending in the world. I mean, the final boss fight is gravy, like everything else in the game, but... even now, thinking back, what happens after that?
It feels like it's just being set up for a sequel, which... isn't going to happen, I don't think. It sort of feels like it's the it doesn't really matter if I spoil it. It feels like it's the precursor to what ends up happening in the other Devil May Cry games.
I still can't remember anything about it. But I played it anyway for a little bit, for like 10 minutes on hard. I went from fumbling with the buttons like I'd never played a game before to getting SS ranks in like probably less than 60 seconds. Nice. So it's like riding a bike, only better, healthier, better for you.
Yeah. Unquestionably. All right, my number 10 is a game called Spermy's Journey, which I found very shortly before this podcast started recording on the free part of the Android Google Play Store. All right, so you play as a sperm called Spermy, and you have to travel vertically upwards up... I don't know, the uterus, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know, while collecting coins and dodging spermicide, which exists as kind of cloudy grey lumps. It's quite an unpleasant game, but it's so cartoony. It feels like it should be for kids, but I don't know, he's travelling for a long time. And the whole thing soundtracked by this music that goes, it's like played on horns. It goes, and he's got a hat, like a little, or maybe he's got a backpack. The whole thing was halfway between kind of scumming me out and making me feel like I was playing a kind of crap 80s cartoon that we used to watch on like CITV or something. So... weird game. I'm going to delete it off my phone quite soon. It wasn't very good. It's kind of plays, you tilt the thing left and right, so it kind of plays like Doodle Jump, but without any speed or fun. But it wasn't awful, but I mean, what a weird game.
It sounds like Sex Education on the Bible Belt, like a game that they play you, that passes for sex education.
I guess so, but they talk about spermicide in the Bible Belt? I don't think so.
Isn't spermicide just the stuff that's on... I don't know what we're talking about. Let's forget it. Incidentally, there is another semen game on Xbox Live Indie Games that I remember called Ovary Overload, and that was very good. Or I remember it had good music, one of the two.
That sounds painful.
The game was fine, I think. I think it had really good music, something like that. Anyway, Ovary Overload. But anyway, my number 9 is a game called Die Hard 16-bit. Right. I completely, there's no change in that I can't remember exactly how I came across this. It was a snide remark in an article on a website that had a hot link, so I clicked it and it went to diehard16bit.com, which has its own URL. And it's absolutely appalling. It's shitty even for a Flash game. It's a tie-in Flash game for Die Hard 5. First of all, I'm pretty sure that Bruce Willis would be extraordinarily pissed off if he saw his avatar, because he looks like one of the cast of Dad's Army. It doesn't look like him. So it just looks like an old dwarf running around, and I don't really know. I have no idea why they made no effort at all to make it look like him. amazingly, as a Die Hard game, it's not a shooter, it's a Mario clone, with you jumping on these bad guys' heads and collecting these little crystals. It controls like laggy shite, and it's filled with... The fact that it's filled with collectibles is all wrong because it's a speed run game. So you run through the whole thing, you have to get from A to B really quickly, but all of the collectibles are really snide. You know, occasionally in a really badly made platform, they'll put a couple of collectibles next to a hole in the ground. I go on, yeah, try and get those. And you jump down. It's nothing but that the whole way through. And it's also filled with random Die Hard quotes playing audio over the top that have nothing to do with anything. There was one point where half of a conversation between Bruce Willis and Jeremy Irons from Die Hard 3 just started playing. I was like, what? What is this? I hope the creators of it or the creator of it got rich somehow, because this is a stratospheric, awful botch job. I mean, it's awful. I'd say it's ruining the brand, the Die Hard brand, but it's tied to Die Hard 5, and that damaged the Die Hard brand far more. I mean, I'd rather play this for 12 hours than sit through Die Hard 5 again. That's almost certainly not true. I can't believe I can't believe it's got its own website. I'd like to see that URL. You know, it's one of those websites that you get the feeling people will forget about and it will randomly be about in 20 years' time. And I'd like to see it plotted on a graph that charts how long a URL has existed versus how little pleasure it's given people. Because honestly, it's shocking. The fact that someone paid for this and it's up on a like 20th Century Fox official game with advertising. I mean, it's awful. Die Hard 16-bit. I mean, honestly, it's not even interesting enough to go and look. Don't bother.
Crystals, eh?
diehard16bit.com.
I haven't seen Die Hard 5, but does he collect crystals?
He doesn't, but I think that would have improved it so much. I really wished this was the basis for Die Hard 5. We'd all been much happier.
Jumping on everyone's heads.
Yeah. Oh, well, that would be so much better.
Yeah. Man. Okay, my number 9 is a recommendation from Twitter. It's Shadowblade on Android. I think this game already exists on iOS. I'm sure I've heard of it before. It's actually really good. I only played it for a small amount of time. You play as like a ninja guy, but he's really well animated, and it's fairly standard stuff like leaping between... Oh, sorry, something just fell over in my house. He's leaping between walls and using double jumps and like mid-air dashes and things like that, and it controls really nicely. It gives you the option of having like an on-screen joystick or just having gesture animation, so you can hold either side of the screen to run, swipe from where, say you're holding the right side of the screen to run, and you can swipe without letting go to jump, and everything's really responsive. Slashing up enemies is tapping the screen. It's just one of those games that's been designed so it works on a phone rather than trying to kind of jim it in there where it doesn't really fit. And it just seems like a really nice game. I'm sure there's a free version that has a bunch of levels, but I'm sure as you progress, the game gets more complex and more interesting. And I imagine there's a lot of quite technical platforming, and it has the controls to sustain it, even from the sort of relatively small amount that I played. It definitely seems like a good one. I'm going to bash through the rest of the free trial, which seems to be a good few levels, and then see if I'm going to invest in the final thing. I think it's like £1.50 or something like that for the main game. But yeah, really nice, like nicely animated, good production values, good phone game. Unquestionably, even from the small amount that I've played.
Yeah, to be honest, I was umming and ahhing about this because I saw the recommendation. I looked it up on iOS and. There's no trial on iOS, so you have to pay $1.50. And I was looking at it thinking that looks right up my street. But then I read a couple of user reviews, and there were so many of them that said that it just becomes irritatingly bastard hard after about 3 levels. I just thought I'm at the moment I'm fed up to the back teeth with difficulty spikes in games, especially on iOS. Are there microtransactions in it?
I didn't see any. There might be. I didn't see any.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I do want to try that game at some point, but it's just taking a gamble on a game that's then going to screw me over and potentially offer me a way out if I pay. Yeah, but it did look really slick anyway.
Yeah, there was certainly no evidence of microtransactions in what I played.
Okay. All right then. Well, I'll look at it at some point. All right, my number 8 is Battlefield 4. It's higher than 8, but I think I'm just going to make it my number 8 every time I have something to say about it, because, I mean, otherwise it would be my number 1 every week, and that would just be boring. This thing happened the other day, and it left me kind of half furious and half just kind of depressed and quite sure that I was just going to stop playing Battlefield 4. Have I told you about Operation Metro on this?
Don't think so, no.
Okay, I mean, it's a remake of the Battlefield 3 map. And on Conquest, one team starts underneath the metro and the other team start above it. You're both on a point, and then you go to the in between them is the point that you fight over. But the game, the map's basically broken because if you start on top, you get to B before the team underneath can ever get anywhere near it. So by the time you finally reach B, if you start on the bottom, every choke point is just guys spamming grenades. And that's what it goes on for the whole time, because you've got 5 staircases to get up, and the whole team are just throwing grenades down at you. When you start on the bottom, if you look at the scoreboard, most people just leave, because that's the whole game. You're standing at 5 completely impenetrable choke points that you can't get past. But we never leave if we're on the bottom, because if you're really clever, if you're really savvy, you can get past. And that's what happened the other day. Me and 2 of my friends, strategic smoke grenades on one staircase to draw them all in, and then we did it at the same at the side, and then we managed to get through, leave a spawn beacon at the back of their spawn, started capturing the objective that's on their spawn, at which point they all started to panic and retreat, giving our other boys a chance to push forward and get B back, and then we were keeping them back. So, I mean, it's a 64-player game, and we won it, the 3 of us. But because Battlefield's so fucked, after we did that, when we finally tipped the scales and became the winning team, I got kicked back to the dashboard. Oh. And then I jumped immediately back in, and it put me straight back in the game on the other team. And I just thought, it rendered that whole battle completely pointless. And I just thought, there will always be people that say, video games are pointless. They're not. We succeeded through planning, skill, coordination, communication, and really, really high-speed problem solving. The best things you can do. Battlefield's a game I still can't believe I can sort of play in my living room. But we won that game, the 3 of us, 64 players, and I just felt like all of Battlefield's pleasures had been robbed. I mean, there's still so much that's wrong with Battlefield 4. I've said this before. I think the foundations of it are so fucked that I don't think it can ever be fixed. And arguably, Battlefield 3 never got fixed. There were problems that were present in that at launch that are still not fixed today. Some actually, ironically, weirdly, I should say, with Operation Metro as well. But if you're persistent, most of the problems with Battlefield 4, you can ignore them. You can turn a blind eye to a few of them because they're actually quite slight and they don't happen that often. But when this happened, I just thought, all of the pleasures of Battlefield have been robbed. So I just kind of sat there thinking, this is one of this problem, the only sensible, legitimate response to it is don't play the game. Why would you? Stop. What's the point? So I just... Yeah, I mean, I'm going to play it again, obviously, but that was just such a... That really hit... I really did just sit there and stare at the screen just thinking, why am I continuing to waste my time on something that just is pointless sometimes?
I'm going to say every week, yep, that's why I don't play it at the moment.
They just keep patching it. There's a patch every week these days, and you think, maybe they fixed it.
Yeah. But I think you're right. I think it's fundamentally broken.
Well, I find it funny that they were talking about how they were halting all DLC until further notice, and I'm sure March is about the sort of time where the second or the third DLC pack came out, so I'm pretty sure they're still on schedule.
Yeah.
But whatever, we'll see. I'm still going to keep playing it. I love it so much, but I also hate it. I mean, I play. What I do is play Battlefield. Battlefield's like my wife, but I tell you what, that day I was explaining that she walked into a fucking door.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. On that note, number 8 is Threes on Android. It's moved across to Android. I think I talked about it last week. I'm going to call it, it's like a hipster puzzle game. It just is. It is very well made, though. I think, ultimately, my deep-rooted hatred of slide puzzles, going back to my He-Man Man-at-Arms slide puzzle that I had when I was a very young boy that I hated. I think that's probably the first thing I ever hated on Earth. Will eventually... That's the reason why I won't play a lot of Threes. I'm still kind of astonished by the 10 out of 10 score, but some people get really wrapped up in the mechanics of puzzle games. I don't know. That's fine. It's very good. It's clearly very good, and I think for some people it would be like just the kind of thing that they keep on their phone forever, but I can't see me playing a lot more of it. But then again, my brain doesn't really gel with that sort of stuff most of the time. For long periods of time, it's very rare that I'll play any puzzle game for a long time, especially one that makes weird, stupid noises at me. I'd rather have something that has banging music. But yeah, it's quite good. It's good. A 10 out of 10 though is mad, but then again, that guy's probably played it for like 1 billion hours, and I played it for like an hour. So what the fuck do I know?
How did you said that you had trouble trying to find it on the Android marketplace?
Yeah, and then it came out properly. It wasn't on there last week, but there was a bunch of games with the same name that were copycat games. But
so how did you? If they're all still called the same thing, how did you find?
The first one is now. If you our man Matt Murray told me told us that it was on Android, so I typed it in, and it just came up the first one. I knew who the developer was, and it looked legit.
Okay. Is it free on Android, or is it still?
No. You still have to pay for it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I may or may not talk about that game in a minute. In the meantime, my number 7 is Call of Duty Ghosts on the Xbox One. They did a trial. I'm pretty sure it was only on Xbox 360 and Xbox
I meant to play
One.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, the weekend free trial. So I mean, I played it on Xbox 360 quite a bit, and I just thought I'd see what it looked like on Xbox One. Incidentally, it really doesn't look vastly different from Xbox 360. But yeah, a few of us downloaded the trial because we were sort of curious at the time, and I'm the only one of us, me and my friends, who actually played it when it came out. The first problem was we were just like, this is an absolute failure as a sort of illustration of what the game is, because we couldn't party up before the game, which is completely daft because it made the game look really poor. I mean, we thought that they'd taken that feature out as like, you get this in the free version, but that was stupid because it's available for 3 days and people... Anyway, I don't know what happened, but after 5 to 6 minutes of attempting to get into a party, we all just got an in-game message saying, hey, there's a party available, and we all clicked A and we were all in the same game together. I don't know what that was all about. Call of Duty Ghosts is quite dull. It's functional, and I think it's the weakest COD since probably forever. I mean, it's a toss-up between Ghosts, Call of Duty 3, and World at War. The core of Call of Duty is so fine-tuned that it's hard to criticise the actual gameplay, but on the other hand, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, which is the game that came out prior to Ghosts, went way out of the Call of Duty comfort zone, and it was, as a fan of the series, it was really invigorating. And you are a bit of a donut if you berate this series, because people do year in, year out give Call of Duty gets the brunt of all sorts of criticism by people who don't play them. With that and with regard to that, on reflection, Ghost is the cynical and lazy hatchet job that people who don't play these games say they are every year. Yeah. I'm really hoping for big changes next year and a proper focus on next gen. Because this was just... it reminded me of what I thought when I played the 360 version. It's too hard to criticise it, but they've gone below and beyond. they really...
I was looking forward to seeing where that was going.
Yeah, they really... I mean, this is... Call of Duty, I've liked those games for a very long time because they do always add something or change something. This is just... Yeah, I think this is probably the weakest Call of Duty game, and yet it's passably entertaining if you really want to love it. I mean, incidentally, I thought that we were playing online. Obviously, we're all rank 1, or I was like rank whatever 10. I thought we'd be mixed with all other people who are playing the trial. No, we were mixed in with people who looked like they'd prestiged 1,800 times, and the score was like, on the first team deathmatch we did, it was like 20-75, and it's like, yeah,
fun. So
it's a perfect illustration of that game in the end.
Yeah, I never really played it. No issue with it. Yeah, but what's the point?
I couldn't describe it to something. I think I said this when it came out. In the grand scheme of Call of Duty, I'd struggle to try and explain. I mean, you'd say it's the one with the fights in space, but apart the multiplayer, it's completely indistinguishable from some of the previous ones, which is a bit of a shame.
Yes, but yeah, I meant to download that and completely forgot. Never mind. Okay, my number 7 then is some more Resident Evil 4. I've been just creeping through the game, really. I'm taking it slowly. I do enjoy the port, and it's just nice to go back to that game. Just cracking on with it, really. I've not played a huge amount more again. I haven't really had time, but I will hopefully. I say this about a lot of games, so I think I have to be realistic with myself, but hopefully we'll get to all the really juicy stuff, like in the middle third of the game, and all those amazing boss fights and a bit with the elevator and all that sort of cool stuff. Yeah, but we shall see. We shall see. Whether or not I'll find that good amount of time that I need to really dedicate to it, I don't know. But hopefully.
Are you playing on a pad?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I play every PC game on a pad unless it's completely not designed for a pad. But anything that could be played on a pad, I'd play on a pad.
Is there a way, I mean, this is just a stupid idea, but is there a way you could possibly hook up a GameCube controller to the PC and play it on a GameCube controller? I don't know why I even thought of that, because I wouldn't want to do it like that, but...
I'm sure there's some mod you could get to do that, but I don't know, it's fine on the 360 controller. I'd rather have the big green button, but What can you do?
What can you do? I was like one of the all-time biggest fans of that pad, and continues to be so. But I'd play it on a 360 pad. Oh God, there's this terrible joke. Do you know what? Check this out, right? If you know the enemies in oh God, I've already explained it too much. You know the enemies in Resident Evil 4 are dead.
Yeah.
If Jeremy Clarkson was dead and he was one of the zombies, and you interviewed him and said, "Hey, Jeremy Clarkson, what would you bring with you to the undead land if you could?" What would he say?
What?
Oh God! Forget it.
What's the punchline?
I just was listening to those old sound bites from Resident Evil 4, and one of them just goes, "Hey, a car!"
Oh my God! Jeremy Clarkson.
Well, what would you bring? Oh, undead Jeremy Clarkson. What would you bring with you to the undead? I don't know why I didn't just say what would you do if you looked out.
I don't know why you didn't write this joke down at least.
I did it. It's not. Do you think it's worth the paper? It's not.
Why would you write it on a piece of paper?
Yeah, that's an even better point. Hey, a car. It's not. It was. I had another one as well. If. Oh God, I won't bother with that one. Fuck it.
Oh no. You have to do that.
No, because I think on listening to those sound bites, they didn't actually sound. When I used to play Resident Evil, the joke was gonna be, if Hitler. If Hitler was like a track star in an American high school, what would the cheerleaders shout at him? Because one of the old chants I remember is "Go Hitler, go Hitler." Go Hitler. It's not. But listening back,
why does he have to be a track star in America?
Because go Hitler, go. Hitler, he's our man. That's what they sing, stuff like that.
So in this podcast, you've endorsed wife beating and Hitler.
It's been a weird week. I mean, the fact that I'm gonna have to edit this part out. I don't know what my brain was doing when I thought.
Please don't.
I thought that would be funny to.
It definitely was.
Oh Jesus! All right, okay. What was that? Your number?
7. That was my number 7.
All right, my number 6. I can't really talk too much about this because this is a bit of annoying, this one. But my number 6 is 10-Second Ninja.
Okay.
Which you've spoken about a couple of times, and it's I played it on Mac. It's obviously available on both PC and Mac. It doesn't currently have controller support on Mac. Actually, I believe it's faulty on PC and Mac. Some PCs anyway. But a fix is on its way. And I have no real interest in playing this on a keyboard, although I did try. There are some things, my sort of opinion of it is based purely on the surface. Because, for one thing, the first thing I tried to do when I realised my pad wasn't working is see if I could enable it in the settings. And one of the only settings related to controls is rebind keys. So I selected rebind keys, and as soon as you click that, you're locked in. So you have to change the keys. You can't back out. You can't even go back to the menu. You have to change the keys, and it doesn't even show you what the original buttons were.
Right.
So I had to use my own buttons, which probably weren't ideal. Almost certainly they were worse than the default ones. I mean, it's clearly a good puzzle action game. Games like this often kick ass. I just really like the blend of action games with sort of the puzzle element. It's actually clearly much better than that, and I really am looking forward to playing it with a pad. I'm really torn about the structure because I did 5 levels or so, and it said go get 5 more stars because I got 1 star on each level. I was like, I understand the whole basis of the game is getting 3 stars, but if you're really shit, you don't get to play much of the game you paid for. It's weird. I feel very, very weird. This whole trying to sort of assess how I felt about the fact that I couldn't progress unless I basically waited for this pad fix. I just thought it's weird. Why locking off content like that? I know it's a deeply demanding time attack game, but I'm inclined to think that other options should probably be available. But then again, if someone came up to me and said, Dark Souls should have an easy mode, it shouldn't. Of course, it shouldn't. I don't know. The problem is, if the fix wasn't on its way...
Why was that Dutch person coming up to us about Dark Souls?
What? My brain is fucking frazzled at the moment. What did I say? I did it in a Dutch accent.
Dark Souls.
Okay. If this pad fix wasn't on its way, one of its creators is on the Steam forums, even now, I think, talking to people about this fix. And he was saying, thanks to everyone for being so polite about asking for this fix, but remember, we don't owe you the fix. And I just thought, well, that would be a pretty shit situation if you'd forked out for a game that's so clearly a sort of console game. and to not be able to play it on a pad. I don't know. It was very confusing. I was disappointed that I couldn't play more of it, but I'm going to have to just wait for the pad support. Although if the pad support wasn't coming, I'd have to quit because I tried those levels several times and I just kept getting 1 star.
Yeah, I can't see how you could ever play it on a pad. It's actually a little bit later on my list, but yeah, I'll talk about it a bit more in a minute. But okay. Yeah, if that is exactly what he said in the Steam forums, that's a bit rude.
Well, I don't know. Did I think it was rude? Is it rude? Well, I don't know. Hopefully I didn't misconstrue what he said, but he did say, "Remember, we don't owe you this." So I don't think I'm pretty sure that's what he said. I think that was just because some people were being polite but ever so slightly aggressive about it. But even if I'd wanted to, I couldn't get 3 stars because a keyboard is an alien gaming device for me. And I'm not entirely convinced that even people who play PC games and use mouse and keyboard a lot would fare any better. Because I'm pretty sure you said it's made for a pad.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about it in a minute, but yeah.
Okay, hopefully I didn't misconstrue that guy.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, my number six is weirdly Left 4 Dead 2. I actually got asked to write a little thing about this game. So, I jumped back on. And unsurprisingly, it's still very, very good. The community now is legitimately hardcore, so they're only really interested in playing it at the highest difficulty settings. So it's basically kind of almost impossibly difficult, and I felt all the other people kind of turning around and looking at me like, who the fuck is this guy? I was trying to do that bit where you're filling up the car with the petrol cans. I don't know if you can remember that bit in Left 4 Dead 2.
Vaguely.
But I was just like, I was ruining everyone else's game, I could tell, but I couldn't help it. But then I thought, in zombie films you always get the bumbling idiot, and so I'm happy to play that role. But even though I was kind of ruining everyone else's game, it was still really fun. It's just those games are so clever and so well made, and it would be a riot to go back through it with real people, not real people, friends. But yeah, it's kind of too hardcore to play it now with the community that's there. But it was easy to get a game, jumped in straight away, and it's like nearly 5 years old now, that game. I don't have a huge amount to add. It's Left 4 Dead. Everybody knows what Left 4 Dead is. Everybody knows how it works. Everybody knows how fun it is. I've never been one of those people I know people play it like over and over and over again. They'll do the same levels over and over and over again. And well, obviously, 5 years on, people are still playing them. But I've never been that. For me, it was more like kind of one and done, or play every level once with your mates, and then you're kind of done the game. But maybe I'm missing the point. But that's just me. But then again, I hate doing things over and over again. As a person, I hate repetition. I like both of the Left 4 Dead games. I like you. I've never really understood the obsession. It's never a game I've envisaged playing with anybody. I would never pick that game up again, and didn't initially until I knew that I had 3 friends that were definitely going to play it with me. I wouldn't have if it hadn't been for the commission. But maybe the other people who were playing all knew each other, and then I just fucking bumbled in and ruined everything. Who knows?
It was on sale recently. I was going to pick it up, but then I thought I'm not doing it on my own.
No, of course not. Interested to see how that Evolve turns out from the people that made Left 4 Dead, the Turtle Rock. Have you seen that Evolve?
No.
I don't exactly know that much about it because I'm the type of person these days, unless I have to learn about a game, I'll kind of glance at the announcement, press release, screenshots, and maybe a teaser trailer, and then try and back off until it's much closer to coming out. But it seems to be in a Left 4 Dead mold, but another player plays a monster, and that monster can grow to like Cloverfield size, and it seems it's made by those guys, so I've got no doubt that it could be excellent.
Okay, I'll have to look into that because I was completely unaware.
Yeah, it was only announced maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Okay, all right. Cool. Okay. All right. Well, my number 5 is actually 2 games. It's Dead Nation Apocalypse and Blacklight Tango Down, both on the PlayStation 4.
Right.
Dead Nation Apocalypse is on PlayStation 4.
Blacklight Retribution.
What did I call it?
Tango Down. That was the
Tango
other
Down.
one,
That's the previous one, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry, Blacklight Retribution. Dead Nation Apocalypse is on PlayStation Plus at the moment. Me and a friend decided to do it on co-op, and we played it on co-op for about 10 minutes, and then it said network problems, you're disconnected, and we were still in chat. and then we jumped in to try and continue where we left off, and it started us from the beginning. And then after exactly the same period of time, we got cut off again. And for those minutes, I just thought, this is why I pay for Xbox Live. Although that's, you know, when you're playing batters, that kind of thing happens all the time. But the game was basically, we played it for 2 10-minute stretches and then abandoned it. But I did think it was kind of a thankless. I did play it thinking, why would you make a game like this? So many games that are almost identical. I like the fact that weapon switching was on the face buttons and stuff, but that's about it. You're walking through a sort of fire-torn zombie. I mean, it's just like, I've played this game so many times before, I can't muster any kind of enthusiasm. I mean, I don't know if it gets better. I've only played the opening 10 minutes twice, but...
Not really.
No, I was going to say, if that was a trial, and it was, I'd just be like, nah. I mean, if it wasn't on PlayStation Plus and they were trying to sort of hawk it for 10 quid or whatever, I can't imagine there being that many takers, because it's only aimed at people who haven't played a game like that before, and there can't be that many of those people around.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I kind of like the way it looked at first, not the style, because it's so done, but the lighting was quite nice, and I like the charge shot which pierces through multiple zombies. That's pretty cool. But after about an hour or so when I played it last week, I did just start to get pretty bored, and I couldn't really imagine how having another person with me would have enhanced it massively. Made it more fun, have a conversation or whatever. But yeah, it's an odd one. Yeah. It's an odd one. PS4 needs to step up at the moment, I think. I think that's fair to say. So it's a little bit too quiet.
Well, I mean, Infamous is coming, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But then what?
Yeah. Is there multiplayer on Infamous?
I don't know. I'm going to say no, but there might be.
Yeah, it's strange because, I mean, obviously, if you're pitting the Xbox One versus the PlayStation 4, you've got a game that's sort of built to last because it's a multiplayer and a sort of story-based thing that people will be sort of done with fairly quickly, I should imagine. So it's two completely different things. But anyway, we played this. We got fed up with being cut off, so we jumped out and we went to put on Blacklight Retribution. In bouncing from one game to the other, it cut off our ability to chat, and we couldn't join each other's chat party. And I got told, the guy I was playing with, Fraser, he said that he'd had times. A week before, he'd been in a situation where someone had talked him through a process of changing NAT types or something, because it doesn't output audio to the right channel or something by default, and this involves changes you had to make to your router and stuff. And I was like, is it really that complicated? Apparently it is. Do you know anything about that?
Never heard of anything to do with that.
Apparently, if you don't make some changes to your router, I don't know. I didn't bother doing it. He said that it's mandatory, and that's why we couldn't chat. But anyway, we played Blacklight Retribution over the phone. Really good fun. It's a really good shooter. It's amazing that it's free and it's not aggressive about microtransactions. Recommended. We should play it more, but Batters is always more tempting.
Yeah, I do like that game a lot. It's a lot of fun. Very simple, very fun. Very,
very slick. Well, I mean, online sort of netcode issues aside, it's very, 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 very pleasant.
Yeah, for sure. Less pleasant than my number. Where are we? 6. South Park.
No. That was my 5.
Okay, my number 5. Sorry, South Park. The Stick of Truth. I'd finished it last week. I just wanted to go through and hoover up some more side quests. I don't think I'll get to them all. There's some collectibles to find and a few bits where the side quests are a bit too fetch questy. But yeah, just no complaints at all. Just even the side quests, which are physically reasonably tedious, just still good fun, funny. The Al Gore boss fight's funny, although very hard. And it's just still enjoyable just to be in that world. I like the kind of tangibility of it. It's South Park and it's all 2D glory, but I like the fact that there's loads of stuff to smash and bend and push. Yeah, really interesting piece came out this week about the development of the game. I think it was on Polygon. Apologies if it wasn't. That was the guy, Fergus Urquhart from Obsidian, talking about the process of working with Matt and Trey, and that they were, amazing to work with, really, which was kind of cool to hear. And yeah, I've gone on and watched some episodes of the most recent series of the show as well, and it's still kind of the same thing with me. I really admire it, and this isn't a critique of the show. That's not what this is for. But it's just the game, for some reason, just grabbed me way more than the show does. So I find myself kind of going, "That's funny" to the show, but rarely laughing. But this game had me fucking guffawing. Guffawing. I've never said that, and I'll never say that again.
All right. I'll speak about it again. But I'm the same with them. I have such a tremendous amount of admiration for those guys. Their work ethic above everything else. If someone wants to put on an episode of South Park, I'll happily watch it, and I will probably laugh a few times. But I find it hard to. Yeah, it's too much of a good thing, I think.
Too much of a good thing.
Yeah, it's so purely what it is that when you sit down and watch an episode, I have to be in a very specific mood for it. And I don't think I could. How many seasons have there been? Like
17.
17. I mean, I don't know if I could have watched all those without getting sort of bored, just at the sheer South Parkness of it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But the game. Oh, you'll talk about it in a minute.
Oh yeah. No, I rate the game more too, but maybe that's just because that's what we do. Okay, my number 4 was not originally on my list. I've inserted it because my number 1 didn't show up, which is a real damn shame. But anyway, my number 4 is Plants vs Zombies: Garden Warfare. I have played it a heck of a lot. I continue to play it quite a lot because me and my girlfriend play it together. I can't really add a whole lot to what we've said before. It's baby grow Battlefield, but it is
nice.
It's every bit as complicated. They really haven't. I'm amazed that they've made it work as well as they have. As we've said on a few occasions, there aren't many complexities in the maps. But for some reason, they persevere. I reckon I've played this for, if I was playing a Call of Duty or a Battlefield for as long as I've played this, I would be at the stage now where I'd be thinking, I want some more DLC maps for this now. But it's weird considering we've played this for so long, and yet the maps seem fine. I don't know. I don't know why that is.
I haven't played it for as long as you, but there was quite a lot of. They're quite big, aren't they? So there was a fair amount of variety to the. I don't know. Yeah, they seem fine to me.
It is, yeah. It's strange though. It's unusual. I can't really put my finger on why. It's really nice to see that my girlfriend is the exact opposite of me when she's playing online, because she shouts things like, "Oh, good for you! Oh, well done you!" And I look and she's been killed. She's like, "Oh, very clever! Well done!" I'm like, let's just say,
the polar opposite of you.
I was going to say, when I'm playing Battlefield, let's just say we're a little bit different in that regard. But anyway, if Battlefield has offended you, or you're looking for a multiplayer shooter for some reason. Don't let this pass you by, because another thing, God, it's so pleasant how faultlessly it plays online. It's the exact opposite of Battlefield in that regard. I haven't had a single issue that in the many hours we've played it, not one.
I liked opening the sticker packs as well. That was nice. Yeah, kind of nice.
It's the same in FIFA though, really, isn't it? If you're playing Ultimate Team.
It is, but yeah, it's just kind of nice.
But it's a really, really good game. Don't let it pass you by. It really is genuinely very good.
Yeah, I'll probably jump back into it at some point. Yeah, I wonder if they will do DLC for it. But it seems to have done reasonably well. It's been hovering around the charts and stuff. So yeah, good on them.
Yeah, good. It deserves to be a success.
Yeah, unquestionably. Okay, my number 4 then is 10 Second Ninja, which I finished this week. There's 40 main levels and a bunch of bonus levels. I didn't finish the bonus levels, but I finished the 40 main levels. I said I was going to 3-star every level. It got to the point where in the 4th set of levels, the idea of 3-starring them all was just I couldn't stomach it, but I made sure I 2-starred everything. Yeah. It starts to get really clever by the 4th set of levels. It introduces teleporters and things like that, and you can throw your shurikens through the teleporters, and it just continued to be just tremendous video game. Just a kind of a purity in design, which I always admire. I said earlier that I don't like things that are repetitive. And that's true, but I can handle them if they're instant. If I'm allowed to repeat the same thing instantly, Trials, 10 Second Ninja, Super Meat Boy, that I can handle because I don't know why, it doesn't feel like the same thing to me. This might have the most instant of all instant restarts in any game. And I'll happily just sit there trying my hand to get that 3-star rating. What does frustrate me in the game is a bit like you can be taking a path through one of its levels and... yeah, I mean, that's the best way to describe it. This is, you decided to tackle it in one certain way, and you'll be getting very, very close to the 3-star rating, maybe 0.18 seconds off it or something like that, and then you realise after a long time that you're probably barking up the wrong tree, and that's quite frustrating. It's there's nothing they can do about that, really, unless they chose to give you the option after 100 goes or something of showing you the critical path. Or in like a Nintendo Super Guide style. I wouldn't be adverse to that, but there are already videos on YouTube that show you how to do it. And personally, I don't know if I mentioned this last week or not, but I've got no problem with watching someone 3-star it and then trying to replicate it, because it's still bloody hard and it's still incredibly satisfying to do so. But abundance of swastikas aside, which I just think is such an unusual choice. just cracking. And not that I found that offensive. It's just like basically my wife walked in and just looked at it and she's like, "Why is everyone covered in swastikas?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's a bit weird." And she says, "Isn't that a bit wrong? You know, to make such light of a thing?" And I was like, "Well, yeah. I mean, it kind of is. I mean, I don't care, but maybe I don't know." You know me. Everyone who listens to podcasts know that I'm not easily offended or take those types of stances on anything. But it does seem a bit weird. It just because it just doesn't need to be there. But that's probably the most I ever need to mention it ever again. But yeah, 10-second ninja. If your pad works, which it did straight away on my PC version, then I'd say it's a must buy. If you like the same type of shit, if you Super Meat Boy Trials, that type of thing, then you can't go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I like the look of it very much, and I'm looking forward to playing it on a pad. And I sincerely continue to hope that I haven't badmouthed the guy that made the game by sort of painting him to be some. Well, I mean, it's fair enough what he said because you bought the game and it doesn't. I don't know. Is it fair enough? Does it advertise that it has pad support? I don't even know if it does.
I don't know because a lot of games, when you have your pad plugged in, they just offer you the menu changes to. So it says press A or whatever instead of click your keyboard. So I just assumed that it was just part of the game. That you know, this is a game for a pad, and most people have pads. So there we go.
Exactly, a totally fair assumption. I'm going to go back on the Steam forums, and he's like, "We'll do everything we can to help you. We're working on it now." And I just read a comment from somebody else. Anyway, hopefully that hasn't happened. Okay, my number 3 is a game called Proxy Blade Zero on the Xbox 360. It's an indie game, and it's a very interesting, if also infuriating, indie game. It's made by a developer called Ben Grauer, who goes under the pseudonym Dragon 6, and there's some really decent music by an electronica group or an artist called Bolt in the Void. It's a reminder that XBlig or XNA, the development tool, is exactly like all other, any other console in that now that it's at the end of its natural life, people are really starting to do quite amazing things with it. And Proxy Blade Zero is a third-person action game, sort of focusing on melee combat, and it primarily involves you creating combos by bouncing in and out of this combat stance. And as you do that, you build up this overdrive meter. There's also a boost where you boost out of you sort of away from skirmishes by pressing the R trigger. You're this little kind of sort of knight, space knight, I suppose you'd call him. He looks like a knight, but he's also in space. But the right trigger sort of boost maneuver isn't much of an evasive maneuver because you're basically, the problem with the game is that you're always locked into attacks. So as soon as you do them, you can't sort of bounce out of them by boosting with the R trigger. So it's better utilised merely to move through corridors sort of more quickly. And there's also a slight input delay when you hit the parry button, which is a big problem for a game like this because a lot of the combat involves parrying a move and then retaliating to it. It's also, I mean, the game it's very simplistic. You're moving around. There's door keys. There's very straightforward switch puzzles, and they're not puzzles. You have to flick switches to open doors, and the AI just sort of circles around you. So it's basically rooms full of enemies repeated, and there's also no way to earn health. So if you enter a new room with half a health bar or less, you might as well just suicide and start with it full because you start in. If you die in a room, you start before it. So. There's just little problems with it like that, and also if you make a wrong turn, you're in trouble because as good as it looks, everything looks the same. So if you double back on yourself and go into a room you've just come from by mistake, you have to fight the same enemies again, and it's guilty of terrible overkill because it introduces a few needlessly difficult enemies, and they're hard mainly because they'll often only attack you if you attack them first, and once you've attacked them, you're locked into this hit animation that stops you from being able to dodge the retaliation of him. So it's quite frustrating at certain points. And then after you've fought a couple of these hard enemies, you'll kill one in a room, and then you'll progress further through the room, and there'll be another two, and you're just like, it's just too much. Right. Its primary sin is that it's yet another game in which there's an almost offensive obsession with providing quote unquote content. It's just it's one day someone is going to make a game like this that will last 20 minutes and it will be a masterpiece and it will change everything. But until that happens, we're stuck with a game that should cost 69p or so and last maybe 20 to 30 minutes. But instead it costs £3.50, I think, and it's 2 to 3 hours long. But it's 2 to 3 hours long because the corridors are really long and because the same enemies are used in 10 rooms instead of 2, So it's just like it's annoying because my impressions of it were very positive, but the gameplay is not refined or sophisticated enough to be able to pull off difficulty that's in any way gratifying. It just becomes tiresome because you're trying to outsmart the game rather than sort of progress along with it. And I often get the sense that games that like this that are made really just obscenely difficult do so kind of in the misguided belief that it gifts them with a certain sense of personality, and I just that kind of sort of gets really old for me. I mean, it's a game that I think there's a lot to like about it. I mean, basically, as a project, it's quite amazing because games like this have only ever been made by huge teams. So to see the fact that one guy made this is amazing. I mean, truly, and it's enjoyable for a stretch. It's just that when it gets more and more difficult, and you're doing the same thing over and over again, it's just too much. So I'd say it's on Steam Greenlight as well. So I'd say if you have an Xbox 360 that you're still prone to firing up now and again, download the trial at least, if only to look at, it's quite incredible that it's been made by one person. And it does work as well. I mean, the combat's problematic, but it does actually work. So, I mean, I'd say try the trial on 360 and also keep an eye on it because it's on Steam Greenlight. And if and when it turns up on PC, I hope it's going to have been tinkered with a little bit further to sort of refine it a little bit more than it is now. So an interesting and frustrating game, and one that's potentially worth looking at, I think.
What was it called?
Proxy Blade Zero.
Proxy Blade Zero. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
I sent you a code for it.
Yes, I know. I didn't have time to. I didn't know the name of the game. I just got the code. I will play it for next week for sure. Absolutely, and give you my thoughts. I mean, it's amazing that games like this can be made by one or two people. Like 10 Second Ninja is basically just that one guy, Dan Pierce, who you've besmirched forever.
I was going to say evil bastard from the Steam forum. We've talked about that a million times, but it continues to amaze me. Okay, my number 3 then is a game that's not made by one person. It is Yoshi's New Island on 3DS. Yeah. I actually played this a few weeks ago for a review for GameStim magazine, and the embargo dropped today, I believe, is the day of recording, which is Thursday, and a lot of the reviews have come out, and they've gone. Quite a few of them have gone quite low. They've gone sort of 4s and 5s out of 10. I can't actually remember the score I gave it. I'm pretty sure I gave it an 8. I just really enjoyed it. I don't have a huge relationship with the original Yoshi's Island, I guess, on SNES. You can tell because I can't remember the name. Although I did play it at the time. But it's not something I've gone back to, unlike Mario World. But this... I don't know. I just, from the second I booted it up, you will remember that I phoned you up to play you the music because it is the sound of 1,000 maniacs playing kazoos while squeaking chewy dog toys. It's some of the best music I've ever heard.
Yeah, me too. And that continues throughout the game. I saw the music described as being not good. I think it's amazing. Yeah. I also thought the game looks really, really nice. It's a little bit stretched and pixely on the big 3DS, but I'm sure it looks really crisp on the smaller one. But I kind of forgave it that because it is obviously a slightly stretched screen. But yeah, the backgrounds all just look like they've been, I know it's the style of the game, but they, more so than ever, kind of a combination of crayon drawing and oil painting. And I thought it was really nice. And it was just a really nice change of pace to what 2D platforming has become, whether it be something as hardcore as 10 Second or Meat Boy or just the Mario games that are, even at their simplest, still tricky and kind of intense. And then something like Donkey Kong, which I played recently, Tropical Freeze, which is a very, very tough game. It just kind of felt like just walking through a meadow in the sun, and you're just having a nice time, and you might go and have a picnic, and all the secrets that as you move through the level they're kind of like, they're there, and there's like, here's a secret, do you want to see if you can do it? No, you did it, nice one, have a coin. And I don't know, it just, everything about it was nice. I was just like, I'm really enjoying this. There's a new idea around every corner, whether it be something where a fake Yoshi turns up and you have to, he copies your exact movements, but he's stuck at the other part of a level and you have to guide your Yoshi to, I'm changing his name now, Yoshi, to drop the fake Yoshi in some spikes and stuff like that. Just nice. Not like the most technically brilliant platforming game I'd ever played. Certainly, probably a little bit too pedestrian for someone in the market for something tricky and precise. But I was surprised when those scores came out. like I said, I'm sure people have a much stronger relationship with the older games, but I liked it. I found it funny, cute, charming. That kind of Nintendo balance between all those things that they do better than anybody. And I almost feel like I'm apologising for liking it, which is ludicrous. I just thought it was just another really strong, pleasant game on 3DS. I was surprised by those scores. I don't have an opinion strong enough to be like, I completely disagree with them, or I think that I've understood the root of why they're like that. Not at all. In fact, they could probably do the same to me and probably be accurate. But like I say, I dug it. I thought it was good. I think it's good. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, was it universally bad reviews?
No. There's a few high scores as well. I think there's an 8, there's a 4 out of 5 out there. So I'm not alone, but it's like Edge is 4 out of 10, Eurogamer's 4 out of 10. I think Nintendo Life is 5 out of 10. I noticed those ones straight off the bat. So yeah.
Okay, that's how long is it?
Just like there's 8 worlds. It's like. There's some secrets. I don't know exactly in terms of hours. It's exactly as long as you think it would be.
That's interesting because Nintendo, they're obviously in a pretty difficult place financially at the moment, and Nintendo will always have the hardcore people because they make excellent games. So there will always be people who care enough about excellent games to buy them. But if they're starting to churn out with their sort of main mascots, stuff that's is not hitting home with everybody. Fuck, that might, that's a worrying
this
sign,
one's made by like Zest, which I think is people who came from Toon, so it's not technically in-house. But yeah, I don't know. I just liked it. It was just really, really pleasant. And that was exactly what I needed at that moment in time. Something pleasant. And I guess if you like music, if you hate, God knows I hate music that I hate. That will ruin a game for me. And I can see how this music might grate because it is made out of kazoos and squeaky toys. Those are the instruments that are used. And there's the music where you go underground, and you go underground in Mario and it's da-da-da-da-da, everyone knows that. When you go underground in this, imagine, it actually sounds a bit like Matthew McConaughey in Wolf of Wall Street, but imagine doing that on your throat. It's like, it's fucking amazing. But I guess if the title screen music turns you off straight away, you're in trouble. You're not going to find it a pleasant meadowy walk.
Yeah, I very much like the original SNES game, but I had no real plans to pick this up until you played me that music. I'm hoping it will turn up on YouTube because I do need that in my life. If I was a boxer, I'd come out to that kind of music, no doubt about it. It is good.
Yes,
it's great music.
It's very, very special.
Okay, that's interesting. It's interesting that it's polarised people like that, but maybe I'll play it at some point. It's full price, I assume. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I lent you the card, but it was a download that I got.
It's a download, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. I'll probably play it at some point, possibly. Okay, my number 2 is Threes on iOS. I played it on the iPad. It was my number 3, but now it's my number 2, which is a real shame. But anyway, I downloaded it. It's £1.50. It's the 10 out of 10 Eurogamer, the game that Eurogamer gave 10 out of 10. We spoke about it a minute ago. It had me grinning after about 3 minutes. It's a truly great game, and it clicked after about 3 minutes. I just thought, this is great. But at the same time, it's a game that I don't think I will ever truly understand. Right. The basics are very, very straightforward. I'll try to explain them briefly, although it's going to, it's not easy. There's a grid, and there's 16 blocks on the screen, and you slide in any one of 4 directions and add all blocks into multiples of 3. So 1s and 2s go together, but then after that, only 3s go with 3s, 6s go with 6s. And you just have to push against the walls to make these numbers. You just have to problem solve without boxing yourself into a corner or leaving that to happen as late in the day as possible. It strikes a really perfect balance for a puzzle game like this, in that I felt constantly rewarded by it when I was clever enough to do something clever, but I was also constantly thrilled by happy accidents. But at the same time, you can never rely on those accidents to solve your problems, because if you just swipe and hope, games can last about 20 seconds. So you have to be. It's a balance between the two, which I always think is really great. Because any reprieve is almost 100% accidental. I think it's great. I couldn't put it down the other day, and it's going to be one of those go-to games when you just want to kill like 10 minutes. The only thing I don't like about it is that the scoring system is based entirely on how many numbers you have on the grid. So let's say I've played it 30, 40 times. I reckon I've got the same score. Like 10 times, I've got the same exact score, and that's kind of unsatisfying. The fact that time doesn't come into the scoring system at all. Maybe not timing, but I don't know. The fact that you keep getting the same score over and over again is kind of depletes the appeal a tiny bit. I'd rather it was like scores were sort of, I like games where they throw millions at you and they're always different scores, just because, it would be if this had online leaderboards, which I don't think it does, it would be pretty boring because a lot of people would just have the same score. So yeah, I mean, the fact that it got 10 out of 10, it's too early to tell because, yeah, like you said, I mean, I'm sure the reviewer played it for hours and hours and hours, so I can't make that call, but it's so pure and immediate that it feels like it's existed forever. As soon as I play it, I was like, this is a genius idea. Yeah, it's very good. I highly recommend it. Threes, it's good, especially on iPad. Did you play it on a phone?
Yeah, but my phone's pretty big, so it's fine. But yeah, the first time I played it was on the iPhone 4S, which was probably too small.
Yeah, it's great. Really nice. The way it feels on an iPad. It's great. So yeah, I recommend it very highly, and I'm sure I'll play it a hell of a lot more.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Sweet. Okay, another game I definitely recommend, although with a caveat which I'll go into in a minute, is Towerfall Ascension. Though you may have seen that this was reviewed by me on Eurogamer this week. Towerfall is the game that apparently was the only game worth playing, or one of 2 or 3 on Ouya. And the reason that a lot of people ended up maybe buying an Ouya. It is, again, a very simple game. It is a 4-player arena battler, basically, done in a kind of 16-bit style with generic fantasy characters, but that doesn't really matter. And it kind of plays like a cross between some of the games that have been out recently, like a Nidhogg style, because it kind of has that retro / modern thing going on, but it's somewhere between Smash Brothers and weirdly Bomberman, but that's mainly the 4-player thing, I think. How it works is that all 4 players will start in the 4 corners of the screen, and they have to kill each other with arrows. You can fire the arrows very quickly, or you can stand still and kind of aim them in that classic 16-bit style. And fire them across the screen, and they'll eventually go straight and then dip like an arrow would, and it's a one-hit kill. You can also kill your opponents by jumping on the head, and it's tremendous fun when played with other people. It's frantic and like rapidly tactical. You're coming up with strategies on the fly, and it also, like the best action games, has moments that you craft yourself through the systems in the game and your own skill to deliver something amazing that'll have everybody in the room like uproarious, like a great Street Fighter bout, or an amazing sports game or something like that. Or I guess Smash Brothers, if everybody's into it. The move, I actually kind of pin my review around this move. The thing that really elevates the game for me is the ability on the right trigger. It acts as 2 things. It acts as a dodge, which allows you to obviously quickly dodge out of the way of arrows, and you can do that in midair. And that's kind of the key to getting good at the platforming, because it's 2D, almost single screen. Some of them aren't single screens levels, but all the platforms are slightly too far out of reach, so you have to be able to use the dodge to be able to move around quickly. So that kind of puts a level of skill there straight away that kind of separates the new players from more experienced Towerfallers. But the coolest thing about that is it also doubles up as you can catch an arrow. If you time it exactly right, you can catch an incoming arrow, put it in your quiver, and then fire it. Well, it's your arrow, because I should have said this before, but every character only has a limited stock of arrows. So you fire 3 arrows off, and you can pick them back up because they stay in the scenery, but you can just be left fucked. And because everything's happening so quickly, and because you can still do the firing animation without any arrows, more than often you'll have the key shot and you'll be like, I haven't got an arrow. But say it gets down to a 1-on-1 and one player jumps across the screen, the other person fires an arrow, but you catch it out midair and then fire it as you fall and kill them. I mean, that's the stuff. That's magic. I mean, that really is multiplayer magic, and which is why it's an absolute travesty that the game is completely offline only. There's not even a bot match. So yeah, if you want to play the multiplayer, you have to play with real humans, whether it be on PC or PS4. And I can understand why it's offline only. I'm sure the resources it takes to make a game like this work online are far beyond the relatively small crew in Matt Makes Games, which is the name of the team, but also the guy Matt who makes the game. I'm sure the online stuff is way beyond what they have in terms of a budget, but also it's such a precise game that I'm sure it would still work online, because Nidhogg works online and other precise games work online, but I do think you'd probably end up losing some of the kind of pureness of the combat and the absolute precision by all the technical stuff that goes in with making a game work with online, with prediction and all that sort of stuff. But I still think that it probably should be there. And if you look at the comments on my review and you look at the comments on the Polygon review, both of which are in the 9s, almost every comment's like, awesome, but wish it was online. Not going to play it. And it's just the fucking reality of the situation, because, like, I mean, I said multiple times, it's very, very difficult for me to get in people to play with in the real world. Very difficult. I had to arrange specific things for this game. And my day-to-day life, like, people don't come around to my house to play video games unless I arrange, like, you and other friends to come for a weekend once, twice a year. I'm not at university anymore. I don't share a house with other guys. I'm not at school. So, those situations do arise. But even then, if you have it on PS4, you're going to need four controllers to play. I mean, obviously you can play it 2-player, 3-player. But that's... Obviously, I don't think anybody's going to fork out for those on their own, because they're so expensive. But you're relying on everyone to have a PS4 then. And it's like a real frustrating barrier of entry to a great game. In my review, I said you shouldn't mark down a classic board game because it requires people to come around to play it. So I'm not going to mark down Towerfall because this is the situation that it asked for, because I just don't... the game is so good that it doesn't deserve to have a mark taken off it. I don't think for this, but it is... I will also put in the review that do understand that if you're in a situation, as many people are, certainly people of our age, where you can't do that, you can't play with real players regularly, don't buy this game. 9 out of 10 or not, it's just not worth it. And yeah, that's a shame. There are single player modes. There's a quest, which is actually better than it has any right to be. You play through every map, and like waves of enemies come at you, but they're all designed quite well, so they do specific things, like you can come up against archers who'll catch your arrows if you fire them straight at them, or ghosts that can kind of take one hit, or these little hooded guys that'll block stuff from the front but not from underneath, on top or behind. That's fine, but that's not the game. There's also like a trials mode, which is like a kind of not as good version of 10 Second Ninja. That's fine too, but they're not what this game is. This game is 4 players on a couch playing multiplayer and having an absolute riot. But yeah, I mean, that's tough, right? That's tough to organise.
Have the game's creators, presumably with all of these high scores, they've been asked to make a statement about what's happening in the future? Are they going to patch it in? Are they looking at possibilities?
I honestly don't know the answer to that. I think they're kind of adamant that it is just what it is, which is fine. I respect that point of view, but I do think it will hurt them.
Well, inevitably. How much is it?
I think it's like a tenner. It's tough.
That is it.
It's
yeah,
tough.
It is. Yeah.
Such a great game. Even on one-on-one, it's really good. Which, to be fair, that's what I played most of it, is one-on-one. So you do only need one other person, really, but it does come to life with more players.
I'm surprised. So it's only on PC and PlayStation 4?
Yes.
It doesn't look particularly shit-hot. I mean, it could run on a 360, couldn't it?
It could run on anything. It could run on a fucking watch. Yeah.
That's what I mean. I mean, if it was a 360 game, I'd be more inclined to pick it up because it's so much easier to get 4 of those pads.
Sony rescued it from the... Sony got involved, I do believe, when it was just a New Year game. And I think, they kind of courted a lot of indie developers, and I think that's what's happened here.
Okay. That's a real shame because it does sound really, really interesting. But even if I wanted to buy it, and I am in a situation perhaps more so than you where I could get people around here, but I don't know enough people that have PlayStation 4s. They've all got Xbox Ones.
Yes.
So that's a load of sort of Xbox 360 pads on a Mac or a PC. I don't know.
I mean, even if you have just a kind of mediocre laptop, you could happily play it on there. And you can always run it to the TV. But Yeah, it's just barriers of entry to the fun that game offers. Even if the online mode, I understand why it's not there, but even if it was kind of not as good, which is what Nidhogg is, like it has issues now and then. Sometimes you can feel like it's got a little bit desynced, but
everything, FIFA, Street Fighter, everything,
but it's still really fun. Like, I mean, Street Fighter is at its best when you're all together, but it's nice to have the option to play either with each other online or random. It's nice to have that. And I don't want to berate them too much because Street Fighter is made by fucking hundreds of people in a very big company, whereas and FIFA is obviously FIFA. This is just a few guys that have made something quite special. But I think the fact that Nidhogg does have it is the real killer here, because I know the game Samurai Gun, which I haven't got around to playing yet, but is part of this like new thing that's happening, that doesn't have online either. And nor does the sports friend stuff that's coming out, like the Barry Ball and all that stuff. But Nidhogg does, and I really do think that's such a huge thing for Nidhogg to be able to play someone in real life. A real person is. It goes without saying, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, is Barry Ball not going to have online?
No. The sports friends guys came out in kind of support of Towerfall, saying they actually, I think it was them that put an article out on Polygon explaining technically why it shouldn't have the online. And it's like it's one of those things where it's just you're kind of stuck in that level-headed space where you're like, I understand exactly what you're saying and I agree with all your points, but I still think you're wrong. And that's basically it.
Yeah, I mean, an inferior online is so much more important than none at all. I mean, because a 9 out of 10 game you're always competing with 8s and 7s or even 9s that have multiplayer. Yeah. And a lot of people, that's what they're looking for. It's yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's going to become a cult, but the fact that it can't become any more than that, that's the problem.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough.
Well, hopefully I get the opportunity to play it at some point.
Yeah, it's a shame you haven't got a PC, because if you even a laptop, because I'm coming to see you obviously next weekend, and we could just play it on there, because it doesn't need any power to run. But
I assume it's not on Mac, no?
No, it's not. It's just on PC, I believe.
Okay, I'd be very interested to know if there are any figures a year down the line of how many people buy it on PlayStation 4 and then demand their money back because it's not. I mean, I suppose they're going to have to be very, very loud about the fact that it's not online, because if you put multiplayer on it, people are going to assume naturally that it's online.
What's really strange is that it doesn't have a bot match, that you can't just play AI. That's really strange, because that would even do, because I'm sure that would still be fun, but the single player that's in there is kind of weird. It's good, but it's like the game is the game.
Okay. Well, it's a shame. I'm sure it will garner it will garner a sizable cult following. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it can sort of. Well, it can't go beyond that, unfortunately. No. But we'll see. The other thing that worries me is that somebody will probably try and rip it off and stick well-known multiplayer, and they get the lion's share of the money.
Quite possibly, but it's so well designed. I just can't see anyone getting near it unless they're really, really, really good. And I think if anyone really, really, really good wouldn't do that.
Okay, fair enough. All right. All right, my number one was originally my number two. It's South Park: The Stick of Truth. I'm right by the end. I've just I'm pretty sure I'll turn it back on and I'll have completed it in probably about 20 minutes. I'd say it's gotten better as it's gone along and got progressively funnier and funnier.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I was talking to a friend as he was starting. He's a really big South Park fan. He was like, "Oh, it's kind of like it's not what I was expecting," and then it started getting odder and odder and more over the top. I can't add much to what we've already said. There are a couple of there's one minor blemish that I found, that the combat tutorials are not ideal. They give you one shot. They basically show you how to do a move, and they give you one opportunity to attempt it. And some of them involve timing, and as soon as you fuck it up once, you go watch the 10-15 second instructional bit again. Yeah. So I kept, fucking. I was like, "What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong?" Because some of them involve a little bit of specific, control with the thumbsticks. So that's a minor sort of fault. Otherwise, it's a very, very, very enjoyable, if very conventional framework to hang some really, really great jokes on. I mean, it's RPG by numbers, perhaps, but very, very enjoyable with it. Also, if you haven't started it yet and you're going to play it at some point down the road, I'd say try it on hard. You can change it mid-game. You can change it to normal or easy mid-game. But I asked you when I was starting, what should I do it on? You said normal is just like a breeze. And I think it is a little too easy. because you have an infinite amount of stuff that you need. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's. I haven't tried it on hard, but I should imagine it's a little bit more gratifying because I think normal is too easy. And yeah, it's really great. I mean, you and I have spoken about this, and I put out a snippy Twitter message. But it is kind of strange that when it comes to comedies, some critics are really content to give jokes away, punchlines to jokes.
Yeah, it's criminal.
I don't know why people think it's right to do that. I mean, I've always been a really big fan of the film critic in The Guardian, but he does it all the time. He's like, I really liked it when character X said blah, blah, and character B said blah. I'm like, well, thanks for ensuring that I now won't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Why would you put that in a review? And they're right. I mean, you pointed me in the direction of a couple, and I read a few South Park reviews of this game, and I thought, why are you giving away... I mean, it's kind of like chipping away at the end product.
But and it's a game of like... I mean, a lot of the humour comes from shock. It's South Park, obviously, of course it does. Yeah. And to know, if I'd known almost any of the scenarios that came up, they just would have had a tenth of the effect that they ended up having.
Yeah.
I've hopefully, I don't think I've spoiled any of them, but there are just a succession of amazing moments that happen, and I think I do benefit from not having watched every single minute of every episode of the show. So some of the stuff that is a nod to the show, which might please fans in some ways, a fresh gag to me. But yeah, just like one boss fight towards the middle of the game. I won't say any more than that. But wow, whoever thought that would be happening?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like you. I'm not a massive fan of South Park, but a friend of mine is. He's a huge fan, and he's enjoying it every bit as much as I am. So I think it's a runaway success, really. And if you're even slightly tempted by it, jump in. It's great.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it seems to have done well as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's really
great
good
news. Awesome stuff. Okay, so my number one then, it is indeed Titanfall, Xbox One. Final version. Obviously, we spoke about it at length, talking about the beta, but here it is, the final game. So, what more to add? In the final game, there is an option that's called campaign, and if you didn't know better, you might think that's your standard single-player bollocks that you get with a FPS game, but mercifully, it's not. It is a multiplayer campaign where you play through a series of multiplayer games. Specifically across a set number of maps. You play it twice, really. You play it once as the IMC, once as the militia, and the story runs through it. I could play this campaign 7,000 times and not be able to tell you what happens in this story. Most of the story is yelled at you mid-game by people in the corner of the screen. You can't concentrate on what they're telling you while you're trying to play Titanfall. Titanfall moves about 7 billion miles an hour. Yeah. I didn't care what they were trying to say. All I felt was like, whatever I'm doing is really important, so I must make sure that I do it. And that was fine, because cleverly, it doesn't get in the way. The cutscenes at the beginning that... in the beginning of a Titanfall match, you drop in the ship and you jump out. Yeah. So normally here you get a 10-second cutscene of someone yelling at you. It's like a South African guy's like, "We've got to kill all the people. It's very important." And then you just jump out, and then that's the game. And then he's talking to you. "Oh, I can't believe that's happening." And yeah, honestly, a million times when you play as the militia, there's a drunk guy, but it doesn't matter because it's so quick. They seem like a lot of those scenes only exists so there's something to stick in a trailer. It doesn't outstay its welcome anymore. I call it's inoffensively rubbish. I'm sure no one will take offence to that. It is what it is. But the thing is, it's not rubbish because what you're doing in the campaign is playing Titanfall multiplayer, and Titanfall multiplayer is fucking amazing. Of course. There's not a huge amount in here that's not in the beta in terms of gameplay. You have to play through the campaign to unlock the 3 different Titan types. I think we played as the Atlas type, which is kind of the sort of Johnny middle school. I don't know what that means. Like the average Titan, there's a Strider, which is a quick one that has 3 dash bars and low health, and there's an Ogre, which is a heavy one with one. You can fill in the blanks there, but it's just more choice. It's cool. Beyond that, it's still that fucking rapid fire parkour moments, explosions, drama, tight gameplay that we've already played in the beta, just with a ton of maps, all of which pretty much unanimously are excellently designed. They don't feel like maps from anything else because they're designed with that level of verticality that you need for for the way that the parkour works. A few shout outs to a couple of different things that are on the maps. Some of them have big gun turrets that you can hack by just jumping on and just hacking, holding X and hacking it, and you can take control and they'll fire at enemy pilots and enemy Titans. You can kill them with Titans as well. So some of the maps people will fight over control of those, which adds an extra layer, and some have zip lines on, and because you've got a jetpack you can actually move up the zip lines as well as down. You can leap off zip lines and leap onto other zip lines. Unsurprisingly, it's really satisfying and very cool, and just adds another layer to everything that's on there already. We've already played Attrition, which is Team Deathmatch. We've already played Hardpoint, which is Domination. And we've already played Last Titan Standing. There are only 2 new modes on top of that. There's Pilot Hunter, which I found probably the least enjoyable of the modes, because it is the same as Attrition, but the only thing that counts are kills against other pilots being human players. And it kind of had a bit more of a Call of Duty vibe to it than the others, because I've never been amazing at gun on gun, and I love the fact in Titanfall that killing grunts adds. You feel like even if you're having a shitty game, you can kind of just start concentrating on taking out some grunts or getting a new Titan and switching things up, taking out other Titans, and you always feel like you're contributing to your team's effort. Whereas in Pilot Hunter, if you're not good at taking out other human players, and I'm not great at it, it's I just didn't dig it as much. I think that's where the more hardcore competitive players will probably end up. It's still really good, obviously, and I still had amazing matches in that. And then the other mode is Capture the Flag, which is standard 2-flag fare, the type of flag where you have to make sure your own one's at your base in order to be able to capture the enemies. You've played it a million times before, but obviously this game has free running in it, so Capture the Flag is basically amazing. First to 6.
Does it still have is it still the same system of getting a Titan?
Yeah. Yeah, completely.
So strategic. So okay, I see. So you can use the booster. Okay.
And then you can capture the flag and jump on the back of a friend's Titan, and they carry you across. And then the way the levels are designed, so you can. There's one level called Rise, where at a certain point you can basically free run across the entire level with the flag, if you're good enough. And I really really enjoy Capture the Flag. I'm desperate to play it with the team of people that I know. I was still having fun not doing that, even though basically nobody was speaking on mic. But the game's amazing. It is good. Well, it's better than the beta. It's there's more depth to the unlocks. There's more weapons. There's more burn cards. There's more what you call them, ordnance and that sort of stuff. And it just offers the type of online multiplayer it feels incredibly fresh and new within that space, and unbelievably confident and well constructed. It is the game that everyone was hoping it would be. It's fucking amazing, and I will be playing it for a long, long, long time. All I have to do is one criticism is that it just isn't quite technically where it should be on Xbox One, and in a minute it just isn't. The resolution being slightly lower than you'd like, okay, it doesn't matter. I'd like it to be a bit sharper, but it doesn't matter. But you'd assume that kind of cut and resolution was to accommodate a super smooth frame rate, and I have to say there are times where it really does kind of start to crawl when a lot of stuff's going on, and it almost feels like it's not quite working right at times. The frame rate gets bad, it gets quite choppy, and sometimes your movement when you're circling gets a bit choppy, and it can get a little bit headachy at times, and then other times it'll be super smooth, silky smooth. It's not game breaking. It doesn't massively spoil the enjoyment of the action. It's a little bit, like I say, a little bit headache inducing at times, a little bit just like it had me looking at the very expensive black box that I've got sitting there and going, come on, surely just sort it out. I've played it on a PC with the same innards as you, and it's running a lot better, so what's going on here? And for the game that's going to be the system seller, and it is still going to be the system seller, it's just a bit of a shame that it's not quite as perfect as perhaps it should be. But it's not quite nitpicking because it is fairly obvious, but it doesn't. I mean, I've played the game for hours and hours already, and I'll play the game for hours and hours and hours more. Even if it doesn't get patched or improved, it doesn't stop the game being truly amazing. I say it's got like the precision and the kind of confidence of Call of Duty, but it's got the soul of Halo, man. The heroism, the drama of Halo, and then the fucking carnage and chaos of Battlefield all rolled into one, but still feels new at the same time. They've smashed it. They've absolutely smashed it. Roll on the weekends. Titanfall time.
Yeah, big time. Shit, I was supposed to have played it this week, but I haven't yet. But yeah, that's what the weekend's for. So you have to play the campaign. What do you want? What don't you get if you don't?
You don't get the two other Titan chassis. You only get the main, the Atlas one. You have to play through it.
Fuck, so how long is it?
It's like maybe six matches. But
is that it?
Yeah, no, it doesn't take very long. But the first time you play through it on one side, you're like, yeah, this is cool, Titanfall's amazing, and I don't know what these people are saying, but it doesn't matter. But the second time, unfortunately, it's the exact same maps in the exact same order, and it's only hardpoint and attrition. I don't know why. I don't know why they felt that it wouldn't be a service to the story if they threw in Capture the Flag. Okay, it doesn't make sense, but, you know, does anyone care? I'd rather just play some of the other modes. And they could have easily thrown in Pilot Hunter and Last Time Standing. It feels like that is only in there for other people. It feels like it's there for marketing. I don't know. I mean, that may be an incorrect assumption, but yeah, it's inoffensively rubbish. It's over before you know it. And it's kind of cool that people are making it seem so important what you're doing, just running around shooting people and jumping about.
Can you party up with people and do the campaign together?
Oh yeah,
you can.
Yeah.
Oh right, okay, that's good. Because I was envisaging all of everyone getting together, and we have to. Oh, I can't play yet because I've got to do this fucking campaign. Okay, the fact that you can party up, that's really good.
Oh yeah. You just play through it with everyone, and then move on to playing Classic, as it's called, which is normal multiplayer.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to Titanfall. I'll speak about it next week.
It's rather tremendous. Well done. Well done everybody involved. They should be extraordinarily proud of themselves. I'm sure they've worked themselves to the fucking bone to get this game out. 2 games with T-Fall in the name coming out this week. Both are rather good.
Oh yeah, I didn't realise that. T-Fall weekend. Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much for listening. That is us done. As usual, check out the website. Don't bother checking out the website. Check out the Facebook either. We're on Twitter. Chet Rovers, Chet John Denton at Chet and Johns. Check out the YouTube. We put YouTube videos up as regularly as we can, several times a week, and some of it's all right. So yeah, just Chet and John on YouTube. And I think that's it.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening, and get Titanfall if you have the opportunity to.
Yeah, happy Titanfalling or happy Dark Souls 2.
Oh yes, yeah. Sorry about that, but we're I don't.
Goodbye.
Is that a good idea right where we're at? Okay, now you've got fire coming out of your engine. Looks like it's falling. What's falling? Well, it looks like you got sparks and shit coming out of your engine now. Okay. Bulldog? Okay, I'm having a more serious problem now, okay?
Yeah. Right, I've got to go and see what that guy said on the Steam forums. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go back and edit everything out that I said. 10 seconds. Because he seems quite sound. I mean, I was surprised with it. I mean, that's not really a shitty thing to say. It's fine, is it? Oh, God.
What?
Oh my God, I'm going to have to re-edit the podcast. While it's nice for you to be polite, and most of you continuously have been, you don't necessarily owe us that. I got it completely the wrong way around.
Oh no, he's the nicest guy ever.
I know, I was just thinking, how did I get it that wrong? We don't know you nothing, oh God.
Jesus, he did seem like a really nice guy. He's so, have you seen what he looks like as well? He's about 5 years old.
No, I haven't
It's like
seen him.
18 or something.
I've seen interactions with him on Twitter, and it's like, He seems so ridiculously sound.
Yeah, he's incredibly pleasant. On
you
Twitter.
Don't necessarily owe us your politeness. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to like delete the podcast forever.
You just do just do a PSA after you say it. I made a huge mistake. This is the exact quote. Everything else to do with this is. So, Mr. Undead Jeremy Clarkson, if you could bring back anything to the undead world with you, what would you bring?
Hey! Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go
Hitler.
Ninja, go ninja, go. Go, 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 go.
Hitler. 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 Hitler.
Hey! Yo, it's the Green Machine, gonna rock the town without being seen. Have you ever seen
Hitler.
Get down? Slamming and jamming to the new swing sound. Yeah, everybody let's move.
Hitler.
It's filled with the new jack groove, gonna rock and roll the place with the power of the
Hitler.
turtle.